I contemplated not coming in today. That's how my
I
weekend
know.
was.
I know.
Some of you know, 2014, I had a 1 month trial run as SiriusXM was deciding whether or not I was worthy to be on these airwaves. And it was during that first week that Mike Brown was killed. And I knew in that moment, they brought me on, Renee, to talk about business. I was going to, talk about business. I was going to do a business show, which in my mind, I always knew I was never doing a business show. And even if you told me to do a business show, it was going to be a business show wrapped in everything that I wanted to do. Because you know how we do, we remix everything. But that moment in time, I said something is horribly broken, and it wasn't about policing. And it wasn't about Black Lives Matter, because they always did. There's something inherently cancerous about this country, and it goes to the humanity, because there's no way in hell, I don't care how many badges I have, I don't care how many wars I've been to, that I could empty my gun into another human being's body and take their life. There's no way in hell, I don't care what the circumstance, you could spit on me, talk about my mother, that I could put my knee on your neck for 9 minutes and 26 seconds until you no longer are here. I don't care what is going on in the world. There's no way I could drive to another city a day ahead, scope out a place to make sure that this was indeed what I saw online, demographically a Black neighborhood, and commence to opening fire on people I don't know simply because of the color of their skin. There's no way I can do that. And so it doesn't, it's not about training. It's not about the media, even though the media is responsible for not checking. There's something inherently wrong and broken inside of people who should be human beings but are not. So I knew in that moment that this show would have to be more than just, how to do business or, let's talk about what's going on in the world. But it would have to be a haven for folk to be able to know that what comes out of my mouth is always going to be truth. It is always going to center us, and it's always going to be about finding solutions. So I come in today, not because I want to be here, because I'd rather not be here. I'd rather be watching cartoons and eating freaking bran flakes. Don't judge me. I'd rather be somewhere eating some good food and not being inundated with what I'm feeling right now, which is an enormous sense of powerlessness wrapped in an enormous sense of, I wish somebody would, wrapped in that, right?
I mean, I think that's how we all feel right today, that there's a collective exhaustion, I think, that we sort of feel when we hear another one of these things has happened, another time that we've been victimized, another time we've been singled out because of the color of our skin, or something that is, as you said, it's just so inherently wrong. What is wrong, not just with people, but the DNA in this country that has people feeling that kind of way? Well, I know you'll get into it. I don't want to,
So let's do this, because I decided I was going to center the people who are no longer here, who are now ancestors, because that's the African way. As long as these people's names are spoken, they can never truly die. So I wanted to center them because they were going about their day doing what most of us do. I actually do my shopping on the weekend. Most of us do. And it's a particular kind of person that's going to do their shopping after church on a Sunday. You see them, they come in, they got their church clothes on. It's usually somebody that's a little older. It's usually somebody that is part of the community, because they're going to church and going to the store after church. Somebody that's going into the store on a Sunday morning is somebody that is not lazy, is not shiftless, is not somebody that's about the bull crap. They're not littering in the community. They're not destroying the community. These are the people that are the heart of the community. Somebody that is shopping on a Sunday is somebody that is planning for the rest of the week. That is somebody that is central to the community. So I want to spend time today talking about these people at the top of the show. Yeah. Because Saturday, their lives and the lives of their family and the lives of their community were inextricably, everything changed. So I'm going to start with Aaron Salter Jr. He's 55. He was 55. He was a 30-year veteran of the Buffalo Police Department. 30 years he spent on the police department. He didn't do anything but help people. As a matter of fact, when he retired after 30 years, 55-year-old Aaron Salter Jr., he became a security guard at this grocery store. Yeah. And he actually shot this cretin, whose name I will not utter on these airways because I'm not giving him life. He gets nothing from me. I'm not, anyway. He was
I'm
shot.
with you on that. I'm with you
Yeah,
on that.
I'm not giving him no light today.
Nope.
So Aaron Salter was shot trying to save people. He was shot shooting this person who had body armor, which is why it slowed him down. It didn't stop him because he had on body armor. He had on body armor, y'all. He had on body armor.
Yeah, he
and
knew
they're
what he was
lucky.
going into.
Oh,
yeah.
And they're lucky that Aaron Salter Jr. was part of the Buffalo Police Department, not the military, who was trained to shoot you in the head instead of the body mass in the center. Center body mass is what police are trained to shoot you in the center of your body because it's bigger and you don't have to be as good a shot. So that's what he was aiming for, not ever imagining that. But if he were former military, it would have been a headshot. That said, Pearl Young, who was not, she was 77 years old, Pearl Young, school teacher in the Buffalo Public School District. She was born in Alabama. So you can imagine 77 years ago being born into the deep South to move up north where things would be better. Things would be safer. You know, down South who your enemies are. Up north, it's a little bit dicier and almost more insidious. She lived in Buffalo for decades. She had 2 sons and a daughter. She was described by her loved ones as a woman of faith and a pillar in the community. She ran a local food pantry. I wonder if she was there shopping for that food pantry that she ran. She ran that for more than 20 years in her community. Pearl Young, 77. Haywood Patterson, Deacon Patterson, people call him, 67 years old. He was a driver. He was killed helping people load their groceries into their car. He would often go and help people. He was known. His wife, Terza Patterson, said people loved him. The community loved him. His client was getting ready to get into her vehicle when he got shot. He was a deacon in the church who regularly drove people to the grocery store to do their shopping. This is who we lost on Saturday. Yeah. Haywood Patterson, 67. Ruth Whitfield, to get to 86 years old, Renee Seiler, to get to 86, she was at the Tops Friendly Market after visiting her husband in a nursing home. Oh, wow. Now, you go see if your baby's okay, and then you're 86. Wow. 86. And you go...
And she's just so beautiful. Their spirits, really, you can see she's sitting there all dignified in her church finery. I'm looking at a picture of her on a WGRZ website. But yeah, 86 years old. And she had, as you said, was caring for her husband. But what I'm hearing in this is how they were such an integral part of the community and caring for others. She was caring for her husband. Yeah.
Roberta Drury, 32. She moved to Buffalo in 2010 after her oldest brother received a bone marrow transplant to treat his leukemia. So she came there, Roberta did, to help her brother Christopher. She came to help him run his restaurant, the Dalmatia. I hope it's still open. Y'all should go patron it if you are in Buffalo. Let's overwhelm them with orders so that they can stay and thrive, because she was there to help out. Roberta Drury moved there to do that. Andre McNeil, he was buying a birthday cake for he was 53, by the way, there to buy a birthday cake for his 3-year-old grandson. There to buy a birthday cake. Celestine Cheney, 65, a mother and grandmother of 6. She was shopping with her older sister, Joanne Daniels, when she was shot. She was a breast cancer survivor. She survived an aneurysm in her brain. She goes to Tops and then she gets shot. She survived breast cancer and an aneurysm. 65-year-old Miss Cheney. Geraldine Talley, 62, in her final moments. She came to Tops Family Market Saturday for a few items. She sent her fiance, who was shopping with her, down the aisle. We often do that. We go shopping and you go, honey, go get the pancake mix. I'll meet you at that happened to retrieve something off a shelf before she could reunite with her fiance. This cretin opened fire and her fiance survived. But with what? He was planning a life with this woman. And for those of you, my mother got married in her 70s. And she is so happy. Let me just tell you, people were worried because my father was such a pivotal figure, such a powerhouse. They were worried that I would be upset that my mother would remarry. But you know what, Renee? I want my mother to be happy. Right. And this man makes her happy. So guess who's happy? I'm happy. I'm happy.
Right.
She's happy. And she was in her 70s. And if you could see this 70-something-year-old woman, this 80-year-old man get married, second chance, both of them second marriages, it warmed my heart. Now, this Miss Cheney, Miss Tally, 62, was getting married at 62.
Yeah.
Which tells everybody out there it's not too late, only to lose her life. And I feel bad for her fiance who was planning to live a life with this woman.
Yeah.
And Marcus Morrison, 52, father of 3. Little information is known of him, but I'm going to say his name, Marcus Morrison. Y'all need to find more information about Mr. Morrison so we can definitely tell his story. Also shot 20-year-old Zaire Goodman, 50-year-old Jennifer Warrington. They both were treated and released from the hospital. And 55-year-old Christopher Braden is still being treated for his injuries. So that happened on a Saturday morning in Buffalo this Saturday, 866-801-8255. Say their names individually. I'm going to say them again. Aaron Salter Jr., Pearl Young, Haywood Patterson, Ruth Whitfield, Catherine Massey. Did I say 72 years old? Her nephew says she was a fixture in the community. He said she was the greatest person you will ever meet in your life. 72 years old. Andre McNeil, Roberta Drury, Celestine Cheney, Geraldine Talley, and Marcus Morrison are now ancestors because of one person, but not because of one person, because of a society that was founded in this kind of violent hatred and misinformation from its inception, which leads people to do things that are inhumane to others. It is the founding principle of America. That's what this is.
And Karen, the first guy, Aaron Salter, his son, who's named after him, has started a GoFundMe, to help bury his dad. And just the thing that I feel, again, like I said, you kind of sometimes feel numb from this, but it's the how normal these horrific events are becoming. And that is not cool. None of this is normal. None of this should be normalized. None of this we can't give thoughts and prayers and not do anything, and then we go back to our lives and back to our business until the next one. And I think that in this case, where the shooter was actively seeking out, people of color. He was looking for black people. Let's stop the PO. Let's stop people of color, black and brown. It's very specific. It's very specific because I don't see a lot of brown people out front. We're supposed to care about everybody, and I do. Yeah.
However, come on now.
No, you're right. He literally had done this work to find out the demographic information, drove 2 hours out of his way. I mean, that's the kind of planning that you think, how twisted and evil do you have to be to carry out something like that? To go to those extremes. And then, to indiscriminately fire as you're walking in with this, crap written on your gun, and shooting people just as they're carrying on their everyday existence, and just being black in the process of it, and being a target because you're black. It's all so it's breathtaking, and it's frustrating. It's sad. It's scary. I worry about my kids all the time in situations like this, because it's the, something horrible happened. And then it's let's try to, we're going to figure it all out. And then we're going to come up with solutions, except we never do come up with any solutions. And then we thoughts and prayers it away. And then we're back to it again. How do we get to a place where
let's ask that question. 866-801-8255. I have some thoughts, Renee Seiler, not all of which I'm going to share on these airwaves. Yeah, I cannot, but I do have some thoughts about what would at least cause pause. And that's you just want people to think before they act and feel like, because here's the thing, we're police. What happens when they kill a black person? They say, I felt like my life was in jeopardy. I remember it like it was yesterday. Darren, I can't remember his last name, the one who killed Mike Brown. He was like King Kong. He was so scary. I fear for my life, but you followed him. You chased him.
Right.
The Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin, I fear for my life. He was going to kill me, but you followed him.
Right.
You chased this little boy and killed him. You don't fear for your life, because fear looks like running in the other direction. Fear
Correct.
looks like Parkland, Florida, where the people who were there to protect those kids ran behind barricades. That's fear. Fear is not, I'm going to chase somebody I'm scared of. Fear is not, I'm going to knock on somebody's door with a whip. That's not fear. You're not afraid of us. So stop that narrative. You want to paint the picture that Black people are violent, but we're the ones getting shot in our living room, eating popcorn in our homes, in the safety of our homes, or being killed in the middle of the night, Breonna Taylor, or being killed while selling CDs or Lucy cigarettes, but not really selling Lucy, choked to death like we're wildebeest. You're not scared of us. Fear does not drive 4 hours out of your way. Sit for one day and watch a place. Look for the demographics online, because at 18, you had enough wherewithal to research Buffalo, demographics, heavily Black. Okay, let me see if this grocery store is actually, because here's the other thing. Food deserts is the only grocery store that these people have an option to go to.
Yep.
So you sat up on there and you plan. Fear looks like I'm going to go to church in South Carolina and sit with people and then murder them. That's not fear. Renee said they're not afraid. They're not afraid. They know that they can get away with it. So the thoughts and prayers are hollow. And I'm going to ask this question with all due sincerity and love. Is it time to re-examine civil rights in this country and what a civil rights leader looks like, and whether or not civil rights leaders are actually serving us or serving themselves? Ask yourself this question. If you are the leader of a civil rights organization whose only financial windfall comes in Black trauma, are you helping, or are you just doing enough so that you can keep getting those checks, those guilty white people checks? Is that what this is? And if it is that, let's stop glorifying these people and bringing them on TV to represent what? It's been 40, 50 freaking years. If your organization hasn't eradicated racism in at least your area, are you actually helping, or are you serving yourself? And how many of you have become wildly rich off the backs of Black trauma? If that's your business, should we be supporting that? I'm asking the question. I'm not indicting. I'm asking a question. Is it time to re-examine what civil rights looks like? I'm going to say this with my full chest. 1950 and 60 solutions do not apply here. As a matter of fact, I think we need, what's the year of the Haitian Revolution, y'all? 866-801-8255. Go ahead. Call up. I need to hear.
So, Karen, let me ask you this. You ask, is it time that we re-examine civil rights in this country? And I feel like one of our issues really is that and again, I'm going out too here. I don't think that we have adequately called out racism at every turn. Right? So we see things that are racist, and we call them. I'm guilty of it myself. You know, I've come from that discipline, that TV news discipline. So I'm like trying to kind of make sure that I couch things properly. I both sides it, blah, blah, blah. But there are no two sides here. There are no two sides here. There are no good people or fine people on both sides. That nonsense. We have to call this out when we see it. And so the problem is when you start saying things like you'll have friends who will say, you know, they'll say this, the Buffalo shooter, and they have all these harsh things to say about that. But along the same lines, they're saying, but I don't want CRT taught in my schools. And what you have to understand is that this is it's a very slippery slope. And one of these things can, if continued unchecked, lead to, you know, thinking that then leads to what we saw on Saturday. Again, my opinion, we're all, you know,
listen, Renee, let me free you today. Let me free you today.
Oh, thank God.
I'm gonna free you. Here are your freedom papers. anything that you say out your mouth doesn't need to be explained or what have of course it's your opinion. It came out your mouth, but it came out your mouth with the experience of you living in this. It's valid because you believe that, you feel that with your very being. Say it with your whole chest. No longer should we have to worry about two sides and I got to make sure I'm being fair and balanced. There's no balance. There's never been any balance since you and I were confirmed 3/5 a human being in the Constitution of the United States. There's no balance in this country. So let's stop pretending. And again, this whole fear factor where Black people got to forgive and we got to thoughts in prayer and we got to be measured. And then you have all of these people out there representing us that none of us voted for, by the way. None of us. But yet media has ordained this person's going to speak for us.
Yeah.
Really? Based on what? Show me your receipts, please. How many people are in jail? What have you eradicated? What's the crime like in the areas in which you exactly live in? Because I'm going to tell you, there are people in this country right now who are activating in them streets that have no crime in their areas. I'm thinking about Erica Ford, who's out there with those young gang leaders in Brooklyn, getting them together, gathering them up with respect and dignity. And I see her on the TV today, even though that's something different. Y'all, that's not, so that's black on black, as if the violence that this country foments is never going to spill over into anti-Blackness in our neighborhoods with ourselves, because this is the foundational principle of America. Mm-hmm. So don't ever.
Oh, good. All right. Well, now
say what you need to say.
I've been set free. Okay. Well, there you go. Well, that is how I see it. And that is my lived experience, is that when you see these small sort of micro, whatever the aggressions, that you're not being overreacted when you say and call those things out. You're really not. And the reason you're not is because those things are a seed. And that seed, when it's properly watered and cared for, it gets enough light and love. And by love, I mean hate. It grows into something else. And so when I remember in 2016, after the election, and just feeling that I just knew something wasn't right. Things were not going in the right direction because I knew what was going to happen. I knew what Make America Great Again meant on a visceral level. I knew that. And it made me uneasy, even back then. And it feels like what we're seeing now was it's okay to now be nasty and just spread your hate unchecked. And then you end up with people like this who are fueled by that. And it's really frustrating to see and deadly.
You're acting as if January 6th isn't a shade of this. You're acting as if
absolutely.
Yes. Charlottesville is not. I mean, so let's talk about this. All right. So this 18-year-old Cretan sat up, drove all of those hours, sat there, got there a day ahead, scoped out this area after he went online and researched Buffalo, saw that the demographics were just right, high ratio of Black residents. Then he has his weapon, semi-automatic gun, with the N-word written on the barrel in white. So that took time, right? So you got to draw on your own gun, your own weapon, the N-word, and then the number 14. So there's 14 words. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. These 14 words, coined by David Lane, a member of the white supremacist terror group known as The Order. They know with this 14 words. So he had the N-word. So it wasn't brown and Black people, wasn't people of color, Black people.
Yep.
Black people. That's who his target was. And he had a 180-page manifesto. This is a kid that couldn't stay in college, but somehow was able to, but some of us can't even put together 10 pages good. 180-page manifesto, which I'm never reading on these airways. I have read it, by the way.
Powered by hate.
But not just powered by hate. He went down a Reddit rabbit hole, right? He went on Reddit, found something that, there's a scripture that talks about people who search for the things that their itchy ears want to hear, right? And this is to me what America is right now, what the world is. We seek out the things that make us comfortable, which is why people who listen to Fox, only you listen to Fox, you only watch Fox, you only listen to CNN, you only do that, you only do this. And then some of you may tip here and tip there, but even that is not a full, you're not reading novels, you're not reading nonfiction, you're not trying to figure out history. You're doing the thing that makes you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You hire the people that the Black person that speaks with the dulcet tones. Okay, we check diversity. That person's Black, but it's a Black person that makes me feel comfortable. I did my job. I got Black people in my company, but the Black person in my company is the whitest person you could possibly, because they make you feel comfortable. And ask yourself, those of you who run companies and I have Black people, 30% of my staff, do they make you comfortable? If they make you comfortable, you failed the assignment.
And if you don't empower them to actually bring their lived experience to your organization, then it's just as you said, they're not helping, so to speak.
No, not only you are fostering the same white centering, because any Black person that has to make you feel comfortable to keep their job is still centering whiteness.
Yep.
You're still part of the problem. And any Black person in a company where you're centering whiteness, you're part of as a matter of fact, you're worse than the problem. You're worse than the problem. Oh, I don't want them to think that I'm going to look out for Black people. Let me just be 100% clear. Anybody that's working with me, I'm looking out.
I heard that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
From one Black person. Thank you.
Listen, it ain't hard either. It ain't hard either, because what you gonna say? Oh, she brought in a bunch of Black people. Okay. There's a problem with that? Y'all only got 3% here. I helped the percentages. What's the problem? Man, all right. So this person who lives in Conklin, New York, his mother and father are both engineers for the New York Transit Department. He had previously been investigated by the police because when he was in high school, they said he had made threats of violence. This is just 2021, y'all, June of 2021. They knew he was violent. The suspected shooter investigated by the state police, and then he was referred for a mental health evaluation, but yet somehow he was able to get a legal gun in America. How was that possible? He enrolled to SUNY Broome Community College, where he could not, he dropped out. They don't know why he dropped out or how long he stayed there, but he drove 3.5 hours to Top Supermarket in this Black neighborhood and killed all those beautiful people, most of whom lived their whole entire lives helping folk, doing good. And this cretin in his paper gown gets to breathe and plead not guilty. No, not today. And I want to say this too. The people who have historically never parented their children, left their babies to suckle on the breasts of Black women, and to this day have Black women from other countries raising your children. I'm going to say it. Y'all don't parent your children and you pat them on the back. Everybody gets a trophy. Everything they say is cute. Time out, Timmy. No, it's okay. Everything they do, you've embedded and imprinted and imbued in your offspring the notion that they could do no wrong. They have affluenza when they kill somebody. Oh, we got to protect their future. They have a future when they rape somebody. Stanford swim team. All of that is again baked into this country, that if you are white and male, all this replacement bull crap is about your future of what? Future of indoctrinating, future of dominating, future of destroying other people.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This is what happens when you are raised on a steady diet of white supremacy. This is what you see when you are from a very early age taught that everything you do is better than everybody else for no reason other than the fact that it is the color of your skin and it is your birthright, right? So that is the steady diet that groups like this are fed. So they are terrified of losing this great replacement theory that we've been hearing a lot about, which has been, in underground circles and whatnot for some time. But they actually are, when you listen to them talk it out, really what it is they're afraid of losing the foothold on the way it used to be. Again, make America great again, right? So they're worried that now it's the browning of America. And I'm going to say browning because it's not just, it's the coloration. I'm using the wrong term here, but of America. And they are freaking out. They're freaking out because this is happening much faster than they thought, much faster than they anticipated. This wasn't supposed to happen until when the minority majority was supposed to shift in like 2042, I think. This is happening very, very quickly. And so they are, I almost hate to say it. I'm not even going to say it, Karen, I can't, but
Well,
I am
this.
concerned that there will be, this kind of thing because of that fear, as irrational as it is.
It is irrational. How did we get brown? How did America get brown? You snatched Black people from a continent to build your economy, and then you raped with impunity. The whole state of South Carolina was a breeding state. So then you had to come up with mulatto, octoroon, quadroon. You had to come up with variations and of your rape. You went to the Central and South America, Spanish people who call themselves European, they're white, and raped. That was your way. Miscegenation was your way of conquering. So now that the world is brown, because there's no such thing as whiteness, and you created this thing called whiteness that could never hold up. The eugenics thing could never hold up because DNA and biology is a real science. It's a thing. It could never hold up. You can't have a master race of recessive genes. It just would never hold up. But you created the problem by raping with impunity because you could get away with it all up and down. And then you wake up and you're like, we let everybody in that we could that was white. We let the Irish in, we let the Italians in, we let the Jews in sometimes until we don't feel like it. So when we're going to tiki torch and say they won't replace us because they got too powerful, so now we got to put them out again. But there's no more room now. You let the Latinos in, some of them that look like Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio, and they bought into it. They were just so happy to be in Master's house. Thank you, Master, for accepting me. Yay, I'm white now. Oh, let's let some Black people in. Here, Tim Scott, you're white now. Oh, I get to be white. Yay. Well, what do I get? Power. Oh, I get to be a senator. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. White Man. Thank you. I'm white now. So I'm going to act just like you. But all of this is like, it make it make sense, y'all.
You can't. You can't.
Why am I giving out the number? All the lines are lit. Here's what we're going to do. I just canceled the second hour guest. I canceled the guests, all the guests. We had a first hour guest. I had to get that off my chest. And then I'm going to read, and we're going to go to breaks, Ms. Michael Harriot, who is a Nubian. He is part of this family. We love him. I love following his threads. He wrote a piece in the Griot. And again, like everybody and their mother's talking about this, but how are they talking about it? Are they talking about the civil rights leaders? No, they're bringing them on. Are they talking about not just, this replacement, but when did it start? When did it start? Did they start it? Did y'all start replacing yourselves? And now you're mad because those replacement people are better than you? Because you ain't never have to work for nothing. Michael Harriot writes, and let me just breathe. He writes, there's a sentence fragment embedded in my memory that historian Ron Chernow once used to describe the terrorist attack on June 30th, 1866 at the Mechanics Institute in New Orleans. Overtaken by what could only be described as hating, a racist mob of white citizens surrounded the building filled with a group of Black voters so elated with their newly gained right to vote that they danced their way to Louisiana's Constitutional Convention, and Chernow will take it from here. The whites stomped, kicked, and clubbed the Black marchers mercilessly. Policemen smashed the institute's windows and fired into it indiscriminately until the floor grew slick with blood. They emptied their revolvers on the convention delegates who desperately sought to escape. Some leaped from windows and were shot dead when they landed. Those lying wounded on the ground were stabbed repeatedly, their skulls bashed in with brickbats. The sadism was so wanton that men who kneeled and prayed for mercy were killed instantly while dead bodies were stabbed and mutilated until the floor grew slick with blood. For me, those 7 words, this is Michael Harriot writing, For me, those 7 words capture the essence of America's blood-stained soil more accurately than all the purple mountains' majesty and amber waves of grain combined. The phrase serves as an enduring metaphor for white America's rapacious dedication to preserving power. Although it is convenient to believe that this current racial backlash is an outlier, American history is pockmarked with racial violence sparked by the fear of whiteness becoming extinct. Yet, even the most well-meaning Americans have embraced the dangerously naive narrative that Trump, Fox News, and the MAGA minion that they serve have unleashed a new wave of racism across the country. 8 years before a reported white domestic terrorist killed at least 10 people in Buffalo, New York supermarket, 2 years before a majority of white electorate selected a white supremacist as a commander-in-chief, long before Fucker Carlson, that's me, had a show on Fox News, back when podcasts were barely a blip on the digital media landscape, I interviewed a white supremacist named Sean. This is Michael Harriot. As a devotee of the white empowerment movement, Sean introduced me to a rapidly growing conspiracy theory known as the Great Replacement Theory, and he goes on. We are being disenfranchised, and it's very much a genocide. Listen to these words. He explained, it's not because I hate other races. Sean said, I just want to preserve my own. It's because what's happening right now is an existential threat to my people and one that needs to be confronted. When we come back, we're going to talk about this fear of some replacement. What percentage of the population is white? Now, so y'all going to pass Roe v. Wade, overturn it because you think that's going to help? So now you got laws where you can rape people and they got to have babies, even if they're raped. You think that's going to help?